USA members, good morning. I'll remind you to be a good audience, listen, and keep eye contact. Today, we and Team USA are extremely honored to host a true local American hero as our guest speaker. Rear Admiral Hamm spent 37 years in the Navy. During that time, he has served on 9 ships, commanding 4 of them. He has been awarded numerous medals and citations. Since retiring, Rear Admiral Hamm has continued to serve his community with distinction. He is truly a leader, and we are very proud to have him here today. Rear Admiral Hamm.
Well, it's a real pleasure to be here. I have some prepared remarks, 35 pages, more or less. But after, I'd be happy to address any particular subjects that you may have. As Izzy, right? Yes. Said, I spent a little while in the Navy, but I came from St. Albans. And after I retired after 41 years, we came back here. The Navy was good to me, so I thought it only fitting if I repaid it back to the community, the state, and the country by doing volunteer work. So that's why I'm here. Your phone capabilities make this look like it's in the ice. Regardless of what you read, the handling of people does not change, nor will it change. My experience was gained by eyeball contact, verbal communication, verbal discussions, and reading history. You do not have that critical aspect unless you go out and get it. If you lose your phone, your iPhone, there's a big challenge for you. Technology is great, however, it will never replace the successful handling of people. Hopefully I can give you some thoughts for success based on my successful experiences and career. As I said, it's always a pleasure to address the future of this country. You may not think so right now, but you are the future and will be. My remarks today are geared to young people, not children. Your role and position in life will be the result of your motivation to succeed. Motivation to succeed. Not necessarily mastering the smartphone. Therefore, you should develop motivation now and constantly practice it. Your character and daily actions are the most important ingredients and results of motivation. Motivation makes leaders. You acquire motivation by curiosity and a desire to better yourself in your chosen area and desire to make a difference in the world. Therefore, I'm going to talk to you about leadership and its components. It will provide you some thoughts, relative motivation, and its importance to you right now. As a little background, you know, it really wasn't that long ago in the big scheme of things that I was sitting where you are. I certainly wasn't too sure what I wanted to do, and I wasn't too sure why I should be worrying about it. World War II was going on, so we were a little bit motivated towards going into that. But I had not spent much time thinking about my role that I would play in life. I was probably like a leaf in a windstorm, fluttering here and there. But today's world is a little bit different. It's fast-paced, and one should begin to properly prepare oneself for the future. Now, in other words, motivate yourself to prepare yourself, establish short and long-range goals. You must think about, where am I going to go? My mother was a major motivator in my career, believe me. You talk about a taut ship, she ran a taut ship. Highly motivated people will uncover challenges and opportunities that you did not know existed. The world is a tough place and very, very competitive. Proper motivation will ensure success. Less than 1% of the people who go into the Navy make Admiral. I thought about that for a while, but then I looked around and I saw other people, and I said to myself, if I can do it, if they can do it, why can't I? You should be looking around. There's nothing that you can't accomplish if you put your minds to it and don't make excuses. Here are some thoughts for you to ponder, developing your leadership abilities that give you reasons to constantly practice motivation right now. What type of person would you want to lead you? You certainly would not want bums, complainers, or people who are satisfied with mediocrity. You'd like to have those people above reproach in all aspects. You certainly want them squared away in personal appearance. You want a person who looks like a leader and plays the role. You want a person of high morals, good mannerisms. You certainly don't want somebody who says, do as I say, but not as I do. And above all, you want somebody with common sense. How can you begin to acquire some of these leadership skills right now? What should you be thinking about, and why motivation is critical at this time? It starts here, in school, church, your home, where you learn the basics, and you don't learn the basics on the iPhone. You listen to the elders, what they have to say, and you remember. You listen to your parents, their friends. My parents were older when I was born, and so their friends were basically older. And I do remember sitting there with my mouth shut, listening, and some of them would say, you know, if I had in my life to live over, I'd have done this, or I'd done that. And I thought to myself, what a horrible thing to say. That if you get to be, say, 65, and wish you'd done this or done that. As far as I'm concerned, your life is wasted. I know today everybody changes jobs every 20 minutes, but it's still important to stick with one thing. And as you grow older, you'll acquire knowledge, experiences, you'll understand people, you'll watch leaders, you'll see what works and doesn't work. So you should file away in the back of your minds what you saw work and what you saw didn't work. And you combine that with your thoughts about leadership, and then that is your brand of leadership. You want to develop positive, aggressive attitude, jump in to life and make a difference. How should good leaders perform? You certainly never give orders in someone else's name. It comes from you. How ineffective it is if you're standing in front of your division and you say to the troops, well, the damn XOB wants this and wants that done. That didn't inspire anybody anything. It comes from you. I'd like to have this done or that done. Doesn't make a difference where it's coming from. You're their boss. It's very important if you have people working for you that you try to understand their problems. And that's one good thing about the Navy. You start at the bottom and you work yourself up. So even the guy doing the mess cooking, washing the dishes, you've done that. You understand the problems that he or she has. So you take that into your consideration in giving your orders. It's always nice to make the orders palatable, but the bottom line is it has to get done. As I teach to other guys, it's always better to get it done happily, other than that, but it's got to get done. We should set high standards. Aim for the stars, and you're probably going to end up somewhere near there. If you aim for the top of the mountain, you may never ever get out of the valley. Everybody can't get the top, but you sure as heck can strive. Poor performance is unacceptable. Once you start allowing poor performance, that becomes standard operating procedures. Instill in your people responsibility and accountability. Another very important word is loyalty. Stop criticizing. Loyalty up and loyalty down. One job I had 24 different ships, and happened to be most of them 4-stripers as captains. And come there to go to a new job, they'd always like the Admiral to support them in their new job. So one of my first things when I had them all up there, I said, now keep in mind one thing. I said, when you change your job, you want me to help you out. I'm going to tell you one thing. If you don't support my goals and philosophies, why should I support your desires? In other words, life is a two-way street. My mother used to say, it's not for your boss to get along with you. You get along with your boss. And she said that if you don't like somebody, keep looking for one small thing you like about that individual, and pretty soon it grows and you suddenly like that person. It's very difficult to use the term, when you're the boss, you can't be buddy with everybody. You have rules that have to be followed. And if you're buddy with somebody and you, as the boss, gives him an order he doesn't like, he can stand there and argue. Sure, you don't mean that. So it's best to maintain a proper relationship between the boss and the people who perform the work. I know that's not necessarily the philosophy today, but let me give you an example. In the Navy, there's lots of real-life experiences. And everybody knows the ship floats. And if it gets full of water, it sinks. And inside the hull, we've got various bulkheads, maintain the watertight integrity, and it has doors. If you have to leave the doors open, it floods, the whole ship goes down. So, an actual case, the ship got hit, and they had what we call progressive flooding, and petty officer in charge told 2 people to go down and secure the hatch. Because if they didn't do it, the whole ship was going to flood, sink, and X number of people would drown. But if these two people who were told to go down there, if they said, hey, I might get killed, and they were used to not carrying out orders, and they were a friend of the guy that gave the orders, they might wait too long, the ship would flood, sink, and instead of one or two people dying, the whole ship crew would die. So the point is, if you can't agree with an order, carry the order out, and then argue about it later on. And then another thing, you can't succumb to peer pressure. Everybody is worried about what does he or she think of me. Well, let me tell you something. He or she doesn't worry about you getting ahead in life. So don't get sucked in with peer pressure. When I was a midshipman, I was a cadet officer, and you have to follow the rules. And I had a couple of roommates that were real free spirits. And when we were not on the ship, we were in the dormitories, and once in a while they'd sneak out after taps and stuff their bones. And I told them, I said, hey, you're not supposed to do that. Oh, well, you're my buddy, you're a roommate, no. And they did it again, and I finally said, listen, that's wrong. I'm a cadet officer. I'm supposed to be enforcing the rules. And I said, I'm not going to put up with it anymore. Oh, yes, you are. So lo and behold, that night they went out, stuffed the bunks, and the Italian adjutant came by. He said, where are they? I said, they went ashore. So they wrote them up. They got put on report. Oh my God. And my name was mud there for about 2 weeks. Then I got the silent treatment. And I thought to myself, this is not good. This is not worth it. Maybe I ought to just pick another profession. And then I got thinking about it, and I said, hey, what's wrong with you? You're carrying out the rules. You are right. And if they can't accept it, forget it. There's other good people. So that little example carried me pretty good through the rest of the time in the Navy. Funny to say, when I was a captain, I had a similar experience. And I thought way back to that boat thing, that didn't bother me at all. You listen to suggestions, then decide what to do. Common sense is so important. Characteristics of a good leader. Loyal. We talked about that. How can you expect people to be loyal to you if you aren't loyal to them? That doesn't mean loyal to them if they're wrong, no. You should be consistent in what you do, your policies, day to day. When I used to take over a ship, I'd say, all right, I'd give them all my policies, and I said, these are the policies. They're going to be good tomorrow, next month, next year, 2 years from now. So there's no question in your mind how we expect you to do things. Be consistent. Anything any worse, and you come into class someday and the teacher does this, and tomorrow does something altogether different, the third day, something different again. Most of them unsettling. Lay out your policies and goals. Make sure people understand that poor performance is unacceptable. Learn from people's failures. There's no sense reinventing the wheel every third year. Teamwork, as you know here, all these red shirts, is critical. I was skipper of a cruiser, and we had what was called battle efficient Z's. That's the best ship in the fleet of that class. And I'd say we're going to go out that and get the battle E for a gold. But people were doing their jobs, good ground, and all of a sudden we got the E, the battle efficiency E, without even trying for 2 years in a row. And that was a testament to teamwork. The lowest seaman or fireman wanted to win that E, and it just all fell into place. You must play the part of a leader. To put it in blunt language, you can't look like a damn slob. and expect people to give their lives for you. It doesn't work. Sometimes we go to sea, it's on a destroyer, way out in the middle of the ocean, nobody out there. Some of the guys say, well, they don't have to shave today. And, well, we're out at the sea, who's going to see us? Well, that's not the point. The point is, if you look squared away, you're going to perform in a squared away manner. If you look like a bum, that's probably the way you're going to perform. You won't go anywhere. In closing these little remarks here, in order to be successful in life, one must be highly motivated. If you're motivated, you can do almost anything. You have to have a fire under you. My mother was my fire. Your standards must be high, and you really must want to achieve your goal. I mean, you should have an ultimate goal. You'd love to be a brain surgeon. But in order to get to that position, there's some little interim goals. And these you should establish. Have them written down somewhere and check them every once in a while. They're probably going to change. They obviously will. Yes, I'm significantly older than you are. However, I've been where you are. And I think my comments are valid and are good for you to at least consider. Be motivated to take on more and new challenges. And always remember that if that person can do it, why can't you? It doesn't make any difference where you come from. Harvard, Yale, Johnson State College, it's how you use the tools. I had working for me people from the best colleges in the country. And they were dunderheads, some of them. And some of the people from the little colleges in the mountains of Tennessee were balls of fire and did exceptionally well. Always do your best. A good test for that is when you look at yourself in the mirror in the morning, you want to be able to say, I am doing my best. So those are my little words of wisdom. I thought I'd pick a couple little incidents that show you how common sense is so important in life. And there is no technology aid that's going to get you out of some situations. It's what you learned, it's your standards, and common sense. My first command was the destroyer Escort, and that's a small destroyer. And we were sent down to Cuba for the Cuban Missile Crisis. And one day, I got a message that said, come into the headquarters at Key West and report to the Operations Center. So I went in there, and I'll never forget it. There was a great big map of Cuba up there, and there was a captain, first class. I was only a lieutenant commander, 2.5. And he said, a couple of hours ago, one of a U.S. merchant ship got strafed by a Cuban aircraft. We want you to go down there and find out what's going on. Yeah, that's good, sir. But anyway, I said, Captain, if something bothers me, prior getting to Key West, we got a message called the Rules of Engagement. The Rules of Engagement are issued by the country that tells you what you can do and can't do to the enemy or possible hostile. The thing was top secret, and I could not understand it. That really bothered me. I read it about 4 times. So I called my XO in and I said, read this. He couldn't understand it either. So I told the captain, I said, tell you, I said, we got the rules of engagement, and I don't understand them, Captain. And he said, the exact words, well, you weren't supposed to. He said, it's probably going to take a great big black X. And he went over and put an X off the coast of Cuba to clarify the rules, and that could be you. And I thought to myself, there's no way that's going to happen. So I didn't say anything. So we got underway out of the harbor. So I got the word, I got the people together, the chiefs and the officers. I said, okay, this is what we're going to do. This was going to be in 2 guns. I want ammunition in the guns. And I said, if an airplane comes over, I said, in circles, and it starts pointing towards us, I said, if you see a little bright spot for a machine gun, I said, you open fire and you, without my say-so, and you better shoot it down. Now I tell you that wasn't in the book. And if you wanted to cop out, let's say you went out there and you did get some, now what does that prove? You've lost 135 men plus a destroyer escort. Well, you didn't tell me what to do. Well, we don't need people like that. We need people who have smarts and also can put common sense into situations. When I was in Korea, I was the operational commander of the Korean Navy and Marine Corps. Me and the American told their armed forces what to do operationally. That's a pretty big job. I certainly never thought I was like you, sitting there wondering what the hell I was going to do in life. If somebody told me that, I'd have probably been amazed. Who knows what's going to take place in here in 30 years? I'm sure you'll be surprised. But these situations you get put into because you were motivated to do the best job you could while in that job. So that's why you should place a lot of stress on motivation. And you're going to find out not too many people are going to worry about your success in life other than you. So don't think somebody's going to come and give you a nice blueprint to tell you how to succeed. You're going to school here now, learning all of these things. You remember the good things, you remember the bad things. And you crank that into your motivation. But off the coast, when I was in Vietnam, I had the Vietnamese Blue Water Navy under me. And we had Americans on all their ships. And I told you, as far as, well, I mean, probably not you, but my summation of the Vietnam War was probably one of the finest testaments to the American fighting person there was. Because I liken it to a boxing match. You have 2 good boxers, one American, one Vietnamese. And they're going to go a couple of rounds. And they get out there, the ref gives them the word, and he says, shake hands. American turns around and the ref says, oh, by the way, American, are you right or left-handed? American said, oh, right-handed, sir. He said, well, you're going to have to put your right arm in the sling. I said, gee, when American being in America, he goes off and does it. Come back out again, shake hands again with his other hand, and turns around. The guy said, oh, by the way, American, you got to put your left leg in a cast. American said, this is really something. I'm gung-ho, but well, I'll do it. So he did it. And they went out and fought, and the American was still standing. That was the restriction that was put on the military in Vietnam. And my example was, had a ship off the coast of Vietnam, and got a message that they could see the BC coming down the beach en masse. And the way the rules were, that before you could open fire, you had to go back to Hawaii, Pearl Harbor, give the situation, and ask to commence fire. Now, you're probably talking 6 hours. And by that time, the BC was all the way down killing Americans. I said, this is not good. And so I told them to open fire, and that's what they did. I'm not trying to tell you that people violate things, but what I'm trying to say is there are certain situations that are no way acceptable, and you got to use your common sense. I would rather be chastised for doing something like that than chastised for sitting there and watching the whole world fall apart. And don't run around thinking military people are all warmongers, because we're not. What I'm just trying to say is that as you progress through life, you're going to be put into situations where you got to think. And you can't look at that little iPhone to see what the hell I'm going to do. By that time, you're probably dead. But anyway. Anybody got any questions on any subject? I scared you all. Yes.
So I got two. First off, what happened to the two people that ended up stuck in their, I don't know.
The damage control part, they came back. They had the potential of getting caught down there and died. But they had enough faith in that leader to say he wouldn't give me this task unless it was important. I mean, if you, buddy, you just, and the guy said, I'm not going to do that, I might get killed. And the sergeant, hey, are you sure you know what you're doing? And sending me down there. Time is back.
Okay, and then second, did you ever fear, like how did you suppress the fear of being attacked, like as you were heading off one of your ships?
The whole training of a ship is based on teamwork. It's phenomenal. And so you got to train in every possible scenario. Any kind of casualty, you train for it. So hopefully, if it happens, you respond automatically. There was a couple times, well, like the time with Cubans, we did as much as we could to cover any possible contingency. When we coming out, we had 30 caliber machine guns on the deck in case small boats came out. There was another time on a cruiser. Well, let me digress a little bit. Yes, there are many times you're saying to yourself, my God. In the back of your mind you say, what am I doing here? But that's inside. There's another thing that I told my people. If you're going to lead people, I don't expect you to look grumpy, mope around. You may be crying on the inside, but you damn well better be smiling and laughing on the outside. Not a historical laugh. Then a cruiser. We played guts ball with the Soviets. That was really something during the Cold War. Their aircraft would come over our ships, and the ships would try to embarrass us, cutting us off and stuff like that. And on the ships, you have the radar that detects contacts a long ways away. Then as the contacts get closer, you have what is called fire control radar. That's a real fine radar that comes up with a missile gunfire solution. And so theoretically, if an airplane is coming in, you're on the search radar. As it gets closer, it goes to fire control radar, and the solution is there. So all you gotta do is press a button, and away goes the missile, and hopefully it's shot down. It got so bad that we were tracking them, and they were tracking us with a fire control radar. And as I said, all you gotta do is press a button, and that's too close. You can't tell somebody could jump or get carried away and start World War III. So we were off the coast and the Soviet aircraft was in, and we could tell with our equipment, electronic countermeasures, if they were tracking us. And they had a fire control solution on us, and I had one on them. And I told people, this is done. So I said, secure the fire control radar. And they still tracked us for a while. But then I said, that's playing guts ball, and you don't want to do that. But you got to be trained enough so that you can respond right away to any crisis. Unrelated a little bit, but related. Way back long before you were even a thought, 1939, there was a submarine that sank off of Portsmouth, New Hampshire, the Squalus. They had been in an overhaul. They sent the thing before a sea trial, and something fouled up, and the thing went down. And the pre-World War II submarines had these watertight doors, and the doors were this thing, and they were bullseyes, thick glass, so you could look in. And the ship was down, and they ordered these hatches closed. And I'll never forget it. They're talking about there's one sailor had to shut this hatch right in the face of two of his buddies, because you could see him in the window. But if he had left it open, the rest of the boat would have flooded, and they all would have been killed. That's tough. But that's what you have to have, unswerving faith in your leaders. And some of your life is the same, they may quite that, but you've got to have faith in them to understand an order they give is valid. I'll go on and on about questions. Yes.
What was your motivation to join the Navy?
As I mentioned, World War II was taking place. So that took over everything. And so the whole scheme of it, every high school was quit and join the service. Well, I came home, I was a junior in high school, I came home one time and told my father that I thought I should quit and join the Navy. He looked at me and said, that's the funniest thing I ever heard. He said, you will finish high school. So I'm glad. There's good hope I thought to be where I was today. But so there was sort of an impetus there for people to get involved in the military that you don't necessarily have today. But the military is a pretty good profession, even if you don't spend them. You get ahead on your own merits. You have phenomenal responsibility. Anything else? Oh, yeah.
Do you think when you're setting goals for yourself that they have to be a reasonable goal? Like you can act...
No. Say that again.
Do you think when you're setting goals for yourself that they have to be reasonable?
I didn't get the last part. Setting goals for yourself.
When you're setting goals for yourself, do you, is there a goal that's too big for you to actually accomplish?
Yeah. Well, I use the military because that's my experience. You go in there, you're as green as grass, and you watch what's going on, and then you sort of. But the ultimate in the Navy, the service Navy, is be captain of the ship. But in order to do that, you've got to be the XO executive officer. Then once you make captain, we'll say like the destroyer escort, there's always captain of bigger ships. But after a while, as you're performing, you're looking around to other people. I can do that job. I can do that. And pretty soon you say, well, that's what I want to do. And you keep going up like that. And as I said, everybody can't make Admiral, but you can sure be in the running for it. And yes, my goals changed. It was always sort of a mystical goal for Admiral. But then as you progressed up, you saw you had the right jobs, you did good in those jobs, and then it was reasonable to consider that you had a chance.
Thank you.
But you should never minimize your capabilities. The best way, one of the best ways to see that you can do a job is that suddenly something happens to your boss and you get injected into it. You say, this is neat. I used to tell my people, that I did not consider it unhealthy if you kept hoping maybe the captain would get sick temporarily and I can take over. I said, I don't look at it as the bad side. I look at, hey, this is the person who would like to have that responsibility. I was XO of a big cruiser, and all of a sudden something happened. They blew the whistle. There's no reason to be blowing the whistles. So the captain had got sick, and he was hallucinating. And so I walked up the bridge and said, "Well, you're the captain now." So suddenly I was the captain of the big cruiser for a couple of weeks. But that was really good. It showed you could do it. Then that really whetted your appetite to get more responsibility.
Admiral, just more with current events, could you talk to us a little bit about what you think should be done with the radicals that we're currently dealing with, the terrorists?
I guess I could say this, that I like to watch the news, although at times I think I better turn it off. Nothing but bad news. But then I think back and I read about incidences that took place in the Navy and the country, and you suddenly realize, hey, this same kind of stuff was going on then as now, but a different background, a different environment. So I guess what that says is, even though we think all is lost, I don't think it is. We've got to keep the right perspective. Everybody homes in on a few rotten apples. 99.9% of the people are good, but all you hear about are those radicals. Now, to answer your question, one of my jobs in Korea, I was a senior member of the Military Armistice Commission. So therefore, I was the only person that could talk to the North Koreans. This is by virtue of the United Nations delegation. And I represented 35 million South Koreans. And you really represented them, because you were the only one that could talk to the whole country to North Koreans. Now, North Koreans, there is no overlooking the deal. They are absolutely no good. Now, God wouldn't like that, but they are not good. They have been grown up since '53 in the Korean War. They hate Americans. And they truly do that. It's just like if you, for 50 years, were told to believe this, there's no way you're going to flick a lid, switch, and then you believe something else. So that is a tough nut to handle. The only thing we would handle them is if you said something, you always carried it out. So we should be telling terrorists or any of these organizations, we will not accept it, and this line in the sand is a bunch of junk. Go in and do something about it. One time in North Korea, I told the guy, my counterpart, a North Korean general, that if you did this, your people are going to get blown away. They did it. It got blown away. They got all excited. And I told them, I said, on 16 June, you sat there, and I told you that if you did it, this was going to happen. If you did it, that happened. If you do it again, it's going to happen again. And that is the only thing the majority of people understand. Never tell anybody something unless you were prepared to carry it out. So what that tells you is be very careful before you open your mouth. Make sure you got your ducks in line And that can take place. Somehow, you gotta keep the thing in the right perspective. There's some neat solutions I'd like to see, term limits and things like that, that I think would be best for the overall country. But we gotta start worrying more about what can we do for our country instead of what they can do for us. I don't know if that answered or not.
It does, thank you.
Well, think back on all the things you hear people say. If you do this are going to happen. They do it, nothing happens. Well, why wouldn't they continue to do it? Just like you and I, if we thought we could get away with it, we probably would. Maybe you know that one. Yes.
When you look back at the Navy from 53, and now you look at it now, what are the big differences you see?
Well, as I said, I was in there 41. I became a midshipman in 46. Retired in 88. And that's a huge thing. So I wrote a book. But anyway, it's a good question. I personally think we were in the Navy at the best time for many reasons. Majority of our handling of people was World War II type philosophy. There were no computers, and there was a lot of sophistication in fire control systems, things like that, but not like it is today. Big changes. The method of propulsion of ships, big changes. Well, instantly, I think the people who are hung up with nuclear power are wrong. Nuclear power is a safe method of propulsion, of getting power. You got to follow the rules, like you have to follow the rules in everything. Even the slingshot is dangerous if you don't follow the rules. But the biggest change in the Navy is the personnel. Of course, the first thing that started coming in was women. And women always been in the Navy, but going aboard ships and in some of the combat roles. And I'll hasten to tell you that I had many women that could run circles around men, carrying out their professional jobs. So as far as the diversity between male and female performing in the military environment, there's no such thing as one has an advantage or disadvantage, whatever it is. They're outstanding. But understanding those new relationships, I mean, let's be perfectly frank. When you get healthy young men and women aboard a ship in the middle of the ocean, it isn't quite like having it all women or all men. There are challenges. And then the iPhones and strange things like that, I'm not too sure how you can effectively handle that. There are many things that go on at sea, aboard a ship. That's the ship's business. It has nothing to do with the rest of the world. But in today's environment, if you aren't careful, the whole world knows if so-and-so showed disrespect to a petty officer or something like that. Who the hell cares? They shouldn't. And that's another thing I'll lay on you. People of my generation who did pretty well don't seem to understand or think it's necessary for everybody to know everything. I mean, you are going to be in a position sometime to make decisions. You make a decision based on the facts you got. It really is immaterial to the whole world why you made that decision, unless it had some big effect. But if you get bogged down in personalities when you should be worrying about combat readiness or taking care of any kind of emergency. you get lots of things, you're gonna think, man, who's this guy? Anyway. Yes,
Have you ever had to go into some type of lockdown when you're controlling ships?
no, no. Keep in mind that a ship is a contained unit. We'll say just like a building here, but you have all the services. You can completely control who comes or goes. What we had problems or challenges with was somebody would call up if you're in port and say there's a bomb aboard. And, well then, yes, you use that word, you almost win the lockdown. Some of the bosses wanted you to get underway. The ship could be torn apart and you had to get everything back together. 2 days later, you get underway, but then the thing's gone. So it got so, when you stop to think of it, if anybody brought a bomb aboard the ship, number one, they're going to see it because they have to go through one across the quarterdeck. And anything or damaging Navy ship is going to be pretty big. Someone's going to wonder what you're looking for. So most times that would happen when you're getting underway tomorrow for an 8-month deployment to the Mediterranean. Somebody was upset to leave home, what they call it once screw the works up. And so we would not pay attention to it. We'd make a complete, thorough search of the entire ship. And I'd say 99.9% could uncover it if anything was there. And so that brings up overreaction today. And all somebody's got to do is something, and the whole world falls apart, scurrying around. Maybe you should take a deep breath and say, now what does this mean really? Can we do it without disrupting the whole, can we check it out without disrupting the whole thing? So that's that 2 words, common sense. So much of life can be made a lot of sense of if you use common sense.
Anything else?
Yes.
What was the biggest obstacle in your life?
I sort of looked at it all as a challenge. I won't use the word challenge. I think the word challenge was, we had a period of time, we had a chief of naval operation, that was the boss of the Navy, Zumo, and he was in the 60s. And this was when this whole thing started about individuals and things like that. And not making people do things they didn't want to do, and long hair and stuff like that. The biggest challenge was being skipper of a ship where you knew what the rules were and carry them out. And then you get some other ships that did not follow the rules. They looked like a bunch of chimney sweeps. And your people would say, Captain, how come so-and-so? And trying to make them understand that wasn't the norm. They knew what it was, and it was important for them to carry it out. That caused me a lot of soul searching. But whenever I took a stand, I always made sure my bosses understood what I was doing and supported me. There were some significant challenges of those lines. I mean, you all here, you know what's right or wrong. And the one you hurt when you don't carry it out is yourself. Because you're beginning to accept mediocrity. And you went out in the business world. If you're a doctor, there's no way you can accept mediocrity in an operation. Think about that.
Jasmine?
So we'd like to thank you for coming in. It was such an inspiring speech, and I'm glad that I was here to listen to it. So here's an honorary team missing
Oh,
bracelet.
thank you very much.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you. It's been a real pleasure. I have some of this one for you.